back to Tea Time with TNA. My guest for today is Artis Anderson. He's my best friend, so welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So let's cheers.
Cheers.
So today we are drinking Prosecco. It's actually one of my favorites now, and it's
Yes, I'm like the best choice right now.
so delish. But I want to do a quick shout out. My sister-in-law did make this mug for Artis. Her Instagram is Mama Creations. Thank you, Katie, so much. Moving forward, when I do have guests on my show, I will be having these custom made with your initial.
Thanks,
so,
Katie.
Yay! Awesome. All right, so today is chapter 9, depression. Artis is here to kind of share his story as to when he has gone through his depression and when he recognized it and all of that. Just to kind of, know that we all go through it differently. Obviously, I have shared with you most of my depressions, especially during quarantine, because that's when it's been really bad. But now this is Artis' time. He reached out to me and wanted to share his story with everyone. I don't know if you remember on my empath chapter, I brought up a friend who had been going through something and reached out, and it was actually Artis, and he wanted to share his story on his side, right? What he experienced and what he went through with his depression. But yeah, so go ahead and take it on.
Yeah, definitely. Also, thank you for this Prosecco because it's going to help out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we don't got shots, so hey, at least we could drink some champagne,
Exactly.
right?
And I feel like it's great right now because depression is such a touchy subject to talk about. And in my eyes, I see it in two different ways. Like you're either someone that can control it or you're someone that needs to help. And for like probably a good source, I would say that I've had this depression for maybe about 5 or 6 years. And at the beginning, it was like, I can do this. I can just handle it myself. I don't need anyone else to help. And I remember you used to always say, you're like, you need to see a therapist, Because I would literally always be talking about it. And you're like, you need to talk to somebody. And I was just thinking about it, like, no, I don't need to do that, I can handle it myself. And I did pretty good for a good couple of while until last year, and that's when my first episode happened. And I think about it as a whole. There's been so many different factors of it. I definitely for today, I just want to talk about the 3 of them, and their love and relationships, my job, and then after it would be acceptance. So accepting myself.
And I think that's so huge, especially for, younger generations, especially now, is accepting who we are. And, people always have the stigma that having depression, you're wrong, you're weird, you're bad, you're mentally disabled, right? There's so many stigmas.
There's so much time in it, you see in websites and sites, and you see blogs talking about what is this, that's just something that
it was a negative, it was a negative thing. But I feel like what you touching on, accepting what we have and accepting what is wrong or the issues or the concerns is so huge in the recovery.
So I wanted to leave that towards the end, but it's all going to tie in with what we talk about. So it all starts off with love in relationship. I think as we're younger, we try to put these goals and set for us, thinking by the time we're 30, we're gonna be married. I'm going to have this big house and everything, and that's what I wanted for the longest time, is to be in love, to find someone to actually settle down with. Well, I'm still single, so 31, still single, but it's totally fine with that. But I remember being depressed is the guys I encountered day in, day out. I remember liking this guy in college, and we were hitting off good friends. And I remember coming out to him and just saying, I like you. And he told me, he said, you're very cute and all, but I'm not really into black guys. And it's so hard to hear that, because at first you're already trying to be a better version of yourself already, but on top of that, something I can't change, is something that you're excluding out. And I'd be okay if it was if it was certain things about myself, you know, I didn't like guys that had short hair, black hair, something like that, you know, like those things like are preferences, like things like that you can't control, like that's not that's just racism right there, you know. And so that's what I encountered like super young, and that made me, from hearing that so many times, it made me want to start changing things about myself. And I mean, even like, remember I changed my hair all the time. You change my hair all the time.
It was like a reddish color, blondish color.
Like different colors. I pressed it one time. Like I had like straight hair for a while. And I was just that, you know, trying to see like whatever I can change about myself to be more accepting to guys in general. That carried on for a while. Until the point I was just like, you know what, I need to just work on myself because it's hurting. It hurts so bad to hear that all the time, and especially when people are like constantly telling you that you look good, you know, I find you attractive, and then for guys that I'm attracted to, not saying I'm not attracted to people that tell me that, but the people like I seek out, that I, you know, that I would get the same love that I get from these people who are constantly telling me that. And so, yeah, that put a toll on it, but it wasn't that big. It wasn't big. It was just something, and I was like, you know what? Either one day I'll have to face it, you know, or, you know, there's bad people in the world that are like that. And especially like with everything that's going on right now, like, you know, it's a touchy subject, but it needs to happen. Like we need to talk about it, and we need to hold the people that do things like that accountable. It's funny because I was going on Tinder the other day, and I was constantly seeing Black Lives Matter, hashtag Black Lives Matter, you know, and seeing all these people are super receptive, and I'm like, okay, you know, like something's changing, the shift is happening.
It's becoming more acceptable. It's becoming okay to, you know, the inclusive. We were talking about inclusive earlier. It's becoming okay to be inclusive in a relationship, right? To date outside of your race or your ethnicity or whatever it is. It's sad that it's taken us this long, but at least you, as someone of color, is starting to notice that change, because that's what we need. We need in this world. We need to, if you don't like someone based off of their personality, okay, fine. Like, I get it. There's so many fucking assholes out there and bitches out there. But to say you don't want to date someone for their color and actually be that vocal about it, like, fuck, like that sucks.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's such a weird thing. But like now, Cena is getting better, you know. But it's better to see it then, and then at least there's like the random guys who are just like, I'm obsessed with your skin. Like, okay. Like either you don't like my skin or you're really obsessed with my skin, and that's a fetish, so I'm not really into that. So
you're like, here's my feet.
Right. Hey, you know what? If I gotta sell them, then you know it is what it is.
Oh, God. Let's drink to that.
But yeah, like I was saying, that was such a small piece in the depression that put me over the edge. I would think the biggest thing ever is definitely my job. And over the years, the first 5 years, it seemed fine. But the last 5 years, it just seemed like it's been such a dread. Our job is so like demanding. It's so some focus, like everyone is coming at you, and we're doing tasks that are very hard for us. But in the long run, I feel like it's a great thing because you like with this, you can go anywhere, you know?
Yeah, but it's different, and this is what I tell people all the time. Like, unless you work where we work, you don't know what it's like. It does take a toll on you mentally, emotionally, physically. I mean, all of the above. And him and I worked together for like 7 years, I think we worked together. So I remember always pulling you aside and needing to vent to you, and you'd pull me aside and vent to me. But I do agree that it makes us a stronger leader. It makes us a stronger person, being where we're at.
I think most of it starts from overtime. So I would say within like the first times I got like a leadership position, and then seeing the other people that, you know, your peers, and the negative things that they have to say about you is like the hardest thing ever, because you want to be like this perfect person, you want everyone to like you, and then you encounter people who are just out to get you pretty much, you know? And I remember like one of my first memories is actually when I first got a leadership position, and I've only been there for like a year and a half. And the people who were like listing off of like who else got it, and they didn't know who the last person was. And I don't know why, but that made me feel so uncomfortable to be like, it's me, you know? Like during the first time I was just sitting there and just like, you know, like, I don't even know what people are gonna think about me, because I've already spent a year and a half here trying to understand people. I'm already not like a full-on I'm gonna let you in type of person. So to sit there and listen to people like talk, and then when they found out like it wasn't good, you know, like some people were good, but there was the people who were like thinking about it. They were like probably the rudest people I've ever met, you know, and that's carried on for a while. You know, like there's certain people I encounter wasn't like great, but you know, that's a good thing. I feel like one thing they say, I always say, like, you know, out of the one person that's mean, there's 100 other people that are really nice, you know, and that's what it is. Like the people, there's so many coworkers to make up for that it didn't mean nothing too much. But it's when I started getting like tired, and I've already set goals for myself. I was like, oh, by this year I'm gonna do this. But for a while it was like constant, like I can't do this job. This is so much over and over and over and over, day after day. And just to do the same thing, to get abuse from your peers, from guests that are there, it puts a big thing on me. And for a while I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And when you're so comfortable with a job, it's so hard to leave. Like our job is so different. Like I've worked at retail, I've worked in like a custodial job, and they're just it's
a different environment. It's once again, you don't realize that until you've been there, that it's like, oh my God, you can't even compare it to anything else.
Yeah. And so thinking of that is like I'm like, oh, I want to leave it. But in the back of my head, it's like, I'm never going to find nothing like this ever again. And both of those parts right there may just put a big toll on me. I was constantly always thinking, I'm like, I have to leave. And I did like big things to push myself as possible.
Like movies?
Right. I moved to LA, and I was like, at the time I was thinking, I was like, that's the only way I'm ever going to have to leave this job, because I'm going to have to force myself out of it. If I'm going to have to drive every day, 5 days a week, 60 miles a day to go to this job that at that point I hate it. You know, it's going to force me to leave. Fortunately, I'm still here. So
furloughed and all.
Yeah. But after a while, yeah, that was a big thing on me, because I constantly talked to you about it. I was always talking to you about it. I was like, I can't. And you always tell me, you're like, maybe there's something else. And I think during that time we were going through it. Like we are kind of mutually doing the same thing. Like we were just like, is there other places? And we were like, let's do wineries.
We talked about opening up like a winery or being like a sommelier. I hope I pronounced that right. But we like talked about all of that. You're right. I forgot.
Like we were really like trying to go somewhere else at that time. And it wasn't until one of my managers, she like put me to the side, and she was just like, hey, I want you to work on this. And I was able to like, it was something new and exciting, and I was able to change it up, and that definitely like switched it up, because I remember a conversation I had with her, and she was like, yeah, I noticed like you just went down, like, you know. And yeah, it was like so weird, because I'm like, I don't want someone else to know that, like no one needs to know that, you know, I'm having, you know, depression thoughts. And that like really, that's weird to me. Like, you know, it's like when people tell you like, are you okay? Like, I don't want to hear that. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me are you okay? Like, you know I'm not okay. Like, but when hearing her tell me that, I was like, reality. Like, that's just like makes me more emotional, because I'm like, now people are able to see it out. So I remember being home one night, and I was in LA at the time, and things happened in my life things happened, and I just fell. I couldn't do it. I remember being on Twitter, and I was like posting things like, and so depressive things like, you know, it'd be better off if I wasn't here, you know. But the thing is about it is like, I don't feel like I have like, I don't like plan out like suicide things or anything. So I'm not thinking of it. Like, it scares me to do that because I'm like constantly thinking like what happens after, you know, like that's like a horror. I'm putting my parents and like, you know, it's just those things like that like really get to me, and I'm just like, I can't follow along with this, but I can tell myself in a moment like,
I don't want to live. Why am I living?
Mm-hmm.
It hurts too much to live.
Yeah.
And I think that is so hard because, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, when I was in high school going through my depressions and everything that I've shared with you guys, I remember crying and begging tell my mom, like, why am I here? I didn't, in those moments, you don't have the strength to survive, you don't have the strength to live, you don't have the strength to breathe another day. But I get where you're coming from, because like I said, I've never thought about suicide. That's never crossed my mind. Like, I would never do it. I'm too afraid of everything. But I have had those thoughts where it's like, why am I here? I'm hurting so bad. And to get to that point is what is hard and what sucks. Like, why couldn't we have helped, you know, you earlier? Why couldn't you have helped yourself earlier? What are those red flags where we should have been like, okay, Artis needs help, you know, before he started posting that on Twitter?
It's weird, like you always have to like look for the signs, and around the corner, you know, you're just hiding to look at it. I'm like, what is that, you know? Yeah, like for a while it was about acceptance, and so like thinking like all of that happening, like, and you coming there, and I'm just like, great, you know, more people know. But I think like that was a sign right there saying, I'm not right. We had our talk that night, and you're like, you need to see somebody. And I went to therapists, and I went through that whole process. And I mean, she like from the second she like put me right on antidepressants. And for a while, like, antidepressants is so fucked up. It's great. It's a great thing. But it's so like, it's hard to have an emotion when you're on it. I know it was like, for me, like, things would happen around me and it'd be such a crying moment, and I'm sitting there and just like,
you're numb.
Cool.
It numbs every emotion.
Yeah, it was hard, and like for that moment I was like, I can't do this. Like, something there has to be some other way for me to cure this, because I can't do this. And it all started with self-love, you know. It's loving myself, because I obviously tried to change things about myself when a guy told me that he didn't like black guys. Accepting that, you know, that I would find a new job or everything that I'm doing right now is going to help me out in my future. It's just like trying to like spend time to actually love myself as a person, as a black male, a gay black male, and to accept that I am who I am. And that I felt like the most happiest I was when we went to Hawaii. Like, I think that was like literally, I felt good because I spent the whole year working out, working out, and I felt good in my skin, and I was feeling myself that trip.
Yeah, I think that's funny because I touched on that too on my body image chapter, how that was like the first time that friends had ever seen me in a swimsuit without shorts on, and I felt free too in Hawaii. You know, I was like, here's Artis, who we've been friends, God, now like almost 10 years, who had never seen me in a swimsuit or a swimsuit without shorts and a t-shirt and everything on. And in Hawaii, I didn't give a fuck. I was free. And you too, like, you were celebrating your 30th birthday. And at that moment, nothing else mattered to us. Like, we were just enjoying the sun and soaking it up, and that aloha spirit, mahalo.
That was like that was like true love of like self-love.
That's great.
So when I think about depression, like, do I have depression right now? Sometimes. I don't think it's as bad as it was before. I definitely believe in self-love, and I've like try to look for things in my life to figure out how to help it.
Can you share with the viewers kind of some of the things that you have done to have that self-love again? Is it, I mean, from looking in front of a mirror, or is it writing a journal? Like, what helped you discover yourself again?
A couple different things. So I also, you have to find some type of faith in something. So it could be a religion, you know, it could be, I found like crystals were really good for me. I've done religion, I've, you know, studied, I went to Bible college, like.
You did?
I went to Bible college, like, so, different ways of finding some type of faith in that way. If you're not really in big religion, like, you can still, you know, meditate to the atmosphere. The moon, when you're sun mooning, like, is that sun moon? No, moon bathing.
Moon bathing.
Yeah, moon bathing.
Yeah, moon bathing.
Okay, yes, yeah. So like that feels good, you know, when you're out in the sun, you're grounding with the earth. I was with a friend during a music video shoot, and he was talking about grounding, and I was like, what is that, you know? And I started looking it up, and I was like, oh, it's so good. I was like, it's so perfect, because when I bought it during the first part of the quarantine, and I wasn't able to go outside as much as often. So it was easy to plug it in, get grounded, and that, like, just the energy,
Recharge.
like, yeah, it feels like just being on the beach, you know, being in the grass, and those things right there, like, those things help. They seem like it's something so small, like, you don't even notice it happening, but it's working over time.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. I was telling you how I haven't cried in 2 weeks, and that's a huge accomplishment for me, like, huge accomplishment. And the day I cried, I called Artis, and I was calling him crying. We talked for like an hour, and I was crying hysterical, and I just couldn't figure out why. I was just so depressed. Anyway, when we had our new moon, I, you know, sat on my living room. I had my own little seance, you know, I had all my crystals, my candles. I wrote down my intentions in my journal, and I had my meditation music on. And so I'm meditating my intentions and kind of praying to the universe and thanking it and showing my gratitude. And I was telling Artis, like, I was crying when I'm doing this, and it just felt so real and natural, and almost like, sorry, this might be TMI, but kind of like an orgasm. Like, you know, like, it was just all this built up emotion that I had in here, in here, in my whole body, that I didn't know how to get out. And as I'm praying my intentions and putting it out to the universe, and I'm doing my meditation, I just start crying, and it just felt so great to release that energy. And I think that's really important, that you have to find what works for you. You know, maybe crystals and meditating aren't for you. Maybe, like he said, maybe a religion is for you, or, you know, you got to find what helps here, right?
Yeah.
We're all in our head, and it becomes so overwhelming. So you need to find out what works for you.
I found that writing down your thoughts really helps too. I used to do that as younger, like, I would just write out what's going on today, and I found that really stressful to do a day out, because you're constantly like, what did I do today? And you're like trying to write it out, but just writing in it when you have a thought, you know, like, what's going on in your head, and just write it out. Because the most part about it is, like, you just have to get it out.
Yeah.
Like, you have to talk about it. You know, if it's talking on paper, if it's talking to a friend, talking to a family member, you just have to get it out, because it's so worse when it's just stuck inside of you. Yeah.
Definitely. So we talked about, you know, you're going through depression with your love life, right? Being told because of the color of your skin, you know, these guys don't want to date you. And then we talked about your depression within the workplace, because it was overwhelming. You just felt like you weren't where you should have been. You know, you weren't married, you weren't in the job you wanted to be at the age of 30. All this happened. You found clarity when you went to Hawaii. You're now rediscovering yourself and loving yourself through your crystals, through your meditation, all these things. All right, so where are we at now with all of it, with your self-love? I
definitely love myself a lot more. I see, once you like finally got over the fact that I was like, I need to just accept myself. I'm 31, single. Sorry, not really that. That I think the quarantine actually helped with. It's like you're like, it's two different ways. Like you can be like, oh, you know, I just can't do this at all, and then there's a part of me where you're just like, I just need to take this time for myself. And it's getting long. It's getting long now, but
6 months. You counting?
It's getting long, but it's a long self-care. Okay, but I'm able to spend time with myself a lot more. I'm able to appreciate myself, and I'm not worrying about what other people think. And that's like, you know, to think about what other people think my whole past 10 years, to finally just say,
Live.
fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I am who I am. I dress the way I dress. I act the way I act. If you don't like it, get the fuck out.
Fuck off.
Who are you? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I definitely, it's funny when I see other people and other people will tell me, they're like, oh, I can't wait to get to my 30s. And who would think, like, if I could tell my 20-year self, like, just wait till your 30s. Like, your 30s is going to be a great year.
Life changing.
Yeah. Like, your 20s is going to be a struggle. You're going to figure out, like, people who hate you for your color of skin. Like, it's such a self-discovering. But when you turn 30, like, it just crumble all together, and then you start to be like, you know what, whatever. I am who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change it.
So when you are feeling depressed, you know, you say you're not depressed every day, but you might have a depression day here and there.
Yeah.
So do you turn to your crystals, or what is that? Is this different things all the time?
A lot of it would be some type of fitness. So either running, walking, driving. I drive a lot. So if it's me just driving in the car and just driving somewhere, driving to the beach, driving the back, walking, those destinations help a lot because I'm able to just talk to myself out loud. You know, I was watching last night that I watched The Holiday. And The Holiday is such a sad song, and it's such a sad movie in the beginning. But like once it like goes through it, it's so happy and joyful. I was watching that. I watched it maybe like 2 or 3 times.
Wait, is The Holiday the one with Queen Latifah?
No. It's
wait, what's that one?
Diaz.
I thought that was The Holiday. I was like, I like that one. That one's so cute.
I think she has that one with The Holiday, but it's
Something Holiday.
It's the Cameron Diaz, Jude Law one.
Oh, okay, okay.
Christmas time.
Yeah.
It's such a good movie. It's such a great movie. Like, she's like crying in the beginning, but as she moves on to somewhere else, she gets better and she's super happy, and the things that she's doing, I was like, you know, I could definitely use a self-love. And so when I remember a couple weeks ago, I was sitting at home and I was just like, things are just coming. This quarantine is how long? It's 6 months of just thinking about yourself, being alone. So it's good in a positive way, but it also, you start thinking like, am I going back to work? You know, what's life going to be like? And things like that, like how am I going to pay for stuff? And so I'm thinking right there, and I'm just like at home, and I think our AC just went out, and so it's hot, and so I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, I need to get out of here. And I went to the beach, drove to the beach, and then I sat at the beach and the cliffs, and I just like cried out, like it just not knowing like what's going to happen. But when you cry, it's good.
It releases so much.
Yeah.
And I hate how people think, oh, if you cry, you're weak. If you cry, you know, you're not strong or whatever it is. And it's like, no, like it is a sign of strength. It is gonna make you stronger because it releases so much built up inside. And I hate the stigma too, which I'll talk about in another segment somewhere, about men. They think men can't cry, right? Men are pussies if they cry, or men can't be emotional. Like, it's like, no, we're all human. We all
need to let this
release
out.
it.
Yeah. So yeah, I sat there and I was crying, and then once I was done with that, I was like, all right, I can do this, and just get back into the boxing,
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you so much for just doing all of this. I just want to take the time because I just appreciate this right now because it's kind of like a therapy, and as you guys are seeing in the last episode and in the future episodes of more people joining you, like you're able to, this is a therapy pretty much, so I mean, thank you.
No, thank you so much.
Like, I love that you're doing this.
Thanks, and it means a lot. And I even leading up to today, I had to like take yesterday off and like sleep it off, and I told him I literally didn't shower or work out until like after 3 p.m. because I was mentally, emotionally drained. So I've already filmed 2 chapters this week that are after this one. But I do it because it helps me grow, it helps me learn, it helps me, all of the above, but it also helps whoever I have here. And this is why, I think it's so important. Everyone that I have had in this share so far, so now there's 4, have said how therapeutic it is and how much they release stuff. And like even when last week when we talked with Sean, my husband, he said things in this chair that I had no idea he was going to tell all of you. And after we were done, I asked him, like, how do you feel? And he's like, I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders. And that right there is why I continue doing this. So thank you for thanking me. It means a lot. But any of you, if you guys have anything you guys want to talk about or any therapy session, I'm really proud of you. Ortiz, you didn't cry. I thought you were gonna cry, and I was ready to start crying with you.
I know, I thought about it too, and I'm just like thinking about it, and I was like, I'm gonna cry, and I told you something. I'm like, I'm gonna cry, but I think it's good. It's good I didn't cry, because I am actually like I'm strong enough to like get through it. So
yeah. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we say our farewell?
Yeah. Tara used to say this to me all the time. She's like, you need to talk to somebody. And so if you are going through depression, find someone to talk to. Either if it's yourself, it's a therapist, a good friend that you love. Just find somebody to talk to. Make sure you get it out.
And I think that's key, is to get it out. There's so many people who feel that they have to go through it alone, or afraid to talk about it, or think it's a sign of weakness again, and it's not. Just talk it through. I promise you guys, I know I'm not a doctor or a therapist, but it does help. And once again, I will always be here for all of you if you have need someone to talk to. Ortiz, I'm sure it would be the exact same way, because he's gone through it. We've suffered, we've lived, we're thriving, even though we do have depression, and it's something that's probably never going to go away, that we might have to struggle with for the rest of our lives, but we know how to control it, and we know how to monitor it now. But okay, so thank you guys again for watching Tea Time with T, Chapter 9, Depression, with Ortiz. Cheers! All right, thank you. Bye!
Bye!